The other teacher, who was marking it for the subject content, had given a particular student's assignment a B. Renie, who realized the assignment had been plagiarized, gave it a deserved F. In the discussion that followed, the other colleague conceded the student probably had plagiarized, but perhaps the best solution would be to meet in the middle and give the student a C-. Renie was not amused. 4 years later, in 1973, a supervisor noted, "Miss Grosser is definitely one of our best teachers. She works well in the classroom and in difficult circumstances. She has coped with the very unusual language requirements of this year's information processing program." One can only imagine what the unusual language requirements were, but Renie would have been up to the challenge. The next year, she taught developmental students, and it was noted she has a particular interest and knowledge of the difficulties encountered by students for whom English is not their mother tongue. Renie was also exposed that year for the first time to the apprentice students, and their language could be rather salty. Having heard the F word expressed much too often to her liking, Renie compiled a list of expressions in which the F word made an appearance. It was a rather exhaustive list, and she provided the associated meanings of each expression, which she then used as a teachable moment with the students. Having reduced the F word to subject matter content, its usage by the students diminished considerably thereafter. The following year was noted in an evaluation. Her effectiveness is demonstrated as shown by the large number of her students who keep coming back, even though they have not been in her classes for several semesters. She frequently makes students responsible for a portion of their own evaluation, which she feels is a significant growth experience for her students. She is the sort of person you would expect to find, and do find, at the burglar inquiry into the Mackenzie Valley pipeline. Renie was also involved in extracurricular activities. Having developed the Future Studies course, she served on the executive of the Canadian Association of Future Studies. She arranged the English department's first annual professional development week. She served on the English Academic Council, and she served as a union steward on 2 occasions. In 1983, when asked to provide input into her own assessment, Renie wrote the following. "My students often hear that the most valuable self-assessment is an honest self-assessment, but criteria must be understood. Some of my criteria. 1. Enjoy working with students, individually and collectively. I do, almost always. 2. Try to establish a pleasant classroom atmosphere. It helps make," and Renie was prone to using quotation marks quite a bit, "it helps make learning less painful. It is also what remains 10 years down the road when they're paying school taxes. 3. Believe in them, even if they don't believe in themselves, and try to help them believe in themselves. It's amazing how a simple, 'I know you can do it,' results in the doing of it." Upon retirement, Renie did things differently, as usual. Rather than participate in the usual retirement get-together in the staff dining room, often late on an afternoon, she requested that there be a raffle, the proceeds of which were used for her and the winner to ride in a hot air balloon. And the remaining proceeds went to the Ottawa Food Bank. In conclusion, I'd like to leave you with a quote that Renie left at the end of one of her annual newsletters. It's from the Russian novelist and historian Alexander Solzhenitsyn. "Own only what you can carry. No language, no countries, no people. Let your memory be your travel bag."
Marco? Martha Montgomery will also share some words.
That was wonderful, Jack. Thank you. I admire your staple. I wish I had one. Renie had many sides. I knew her over a 40-year period, albeit most closely since her return to Ottawa about 7 years ago. Living nearby, Paul and I shared in driving her to and from the Temple Israel events and services that she enjoyed, soon becoming part of Renie's Temple family. One side, Renie was a reader and a learner, lifelong. She read voraciously and with wide interests and an open mind, always ready with an informed opinion, often a carefully worded letter to the editor. Her apartment was full of books, still is full of books, and she was always tempted by the free or on sale items that caught her eye, sometimes at Temple, at least at this downsized stage of her avid book collecting life. A supporter of good writing and research, she optimistically recently renewed her Walrus magazine for 5 years. I wonder who's going to enjoy that. Renie was a teacher, as we've heard. She kept in touch with many students and collected new ones of all ages. We heard the story of her Loblaw's shelf stalker / author, who shyly shared his writing ambition and asked if she would read and comment on his book in progress, which she did, tactfully, she said. And I'm sure she did. And the other story of her grade school student whom she advised to become a doctor due to his terrible handwriting. And voila, she met him again as an adult, and he had become a well-known research physician, to her great amusement and pleasure. In 2015, Renie set up a bursary for undergrad students from Norway House, her hometown, a small northern town in Manitoba. Population is 5,000 now, and probably was less then. And for Norway House Cree Nation students who are enrolled in a faculty of education at the University of Manitoba. She would probably love it if any of us felt moved to make donations to that bursary. And we have the Dean from the University of Manitoba Education with us today, and if you want more information, he or I will gladly provide it. Renie was a traveler. She loved to travel. In the Capital Voices series of the Ottawa Citizen last year, 150 voices, Renie was one of the featured. And I'm quoting now her quotation in the article. Travel was an important part of my life, partly because I grew up in a small northern native community. We lived on an island, and if you wanted to run away from home, you couldn't. I wanted to see more of the world. The article describes her worldwide year-long trip at age 55, when she stayed in youth hostels, spent only $10,000, and it concludes in the article, one of the reasons I appreciate living in this part of Ottawa, she lived right downtown on Rideau Street, is that while people watching, I can spot representatives of the people from so many parts of the world where I've traveled, and that reminds me. Certainly her friends were many and far-flung. At her belated birthday party hosted last October by friends at Temple, people came from as far as Texas, Winnipeg, and Montreal, as well as lots of us from Ottawa. Renie regaled us with a witty list of euphemisms and colloquialisms for the word death. It reminds me of the F word that was mentioned. But I resist quoting that list today. Her friends followed Renie's final days on a website that we put together in my Lifeline, adding comments from far afield. And I just want to quote one or two. Eleanor Barkington from Vancouver said, as a friend to an international women's organization, it feels fitting that there are friends, oops, here we go again. Staples. Oops, 2-page lines. Where's all that? Phew! Recycled paper, what can I say? There are friends from around the world thinking of Renie and holding her in the light of love and peace. I remember the first time I met her at a Vancouver gathering. One scene stands out. about 7 of us sitting on a veranda, and Renie holding court. She was that type of woman, witty, smart, good storyteller, funny. I am blessed to have known her, even briefly, and from a distance. David Manzuk, who is the dean I mentioned from Winnipeg, who met Renie at a reunion at University of Manitoba only 5 years ago. Renie and I only knew each other for a few years, but her feisty character, dry sense of humor, and deep insights into social life will have a lasting impact on me. And Lisa Huhtala-Halma, who's a Finnish friend, by correspondence only I learned on the website today, whom Renie, who had been in contact with Renie from 2002. Renie and I shared a passion for language, not only English, but just language, and the human experience. I can't think of a more inspiring friend. Her unconventional personality, her endless interest in human behavior, her wit, warmth, and sense of fun will stay with me, even when I can no longer open my computer in the morning, hoping to see something from her. Another side. Renie was a baby whisperer. She loved babies, little kids and dogs, and was rather shameless in courting attention from them. She claimed they liked her back. Renie was a writer. Most of us were treated to Renie's writing in her memoir. Copies still available. Her letters to the editor, her Globe and Mail pieces on topics such as the eviction from the seniors' residence when her residence was purchased and turned into a university residence. And sometimes simply her emails, like this one, entitled Popcorn, from December. This is Renie speaking. Some weeks, or was it months, ago, Loblaws had a special on popcorn for $1.88. I had not eaten popcorn for decades, having almost choked on a kernel while at a movie and playing hooky from high school. But let's live dangerously, I rationalized. There are few opportunities these days. So, bought, ate, didn't choke, and liked. Bought more, ate more, and I was hooked in a couple of days. It was all I would eat. She did have less of an appetite recently. The special lasted a while, but then it was over, and the price more than doubled. And so our addicts created. Practicing enormous self-control, I resisted temptation and instead of popcorn, switched to little tomatoes as a snack. But now, this week, Loblaws is advertising smart food popcorn, white cheddar, 200 grams for $1.88. So, if you're near a Loblaws this week, please pick up some bags for me. I have a number of blank checks at the ready. I am